Somewhere in the range of mid to late 2018, Verizon started to talk about the discontinuation of their 3G and CDMA cellular networks. And I believe it was December 31st, 2019 was the first date that they released as the official shutdown date of the CDMA network. In 2019, I was still using a CDMA phone, and I had no intention of getting a different phone. I had suspicions when I first heard this that it wasn't going to be a hard cutoff at 11:59 p.m. on December 31st, 2019, that suddenly the network just doesn't exist anymore. And since I don't need the cell phone, what I decided to do is I decided to wait it out. And so I kept my old CDMA phone, and if it lost service on December 31st, 2019 at 11:59 o'clock, no big deal. I can go without it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks until I get a new phone. So that's what I did. And sure enough, January 1st, 2020 comes around, February 2020, March 2020, the months keep coming, and the phone keeps working just as well as it did before. No change in the service. So I says, okay, well, I'm just going to keep the phone until something happens. So I did. He used the phone all of 2020. And then Verizon comes back and says, okay, December 31st, 2020, we're going to cut off the CDMA network. I still was a little skeptical about it, but I decided I'm just going to have to get a new phone because at some point it is going to stop working. I'd had that phone for many years. I really liked it. I didn't want to get rid of it, but it was going to be inevitable. So I found a replacement phone, a 4G HD voice LTE phone. I found the handset was satisfactory, and so I bought that phone. And towards the end of December 2020, I transferred my service over to that new phone. And I immediately was disappointed because I noticed that the coverage of the 4G network was significantly inferior to the reception of the old CDMA phone. Now, the new phone, the sound quality of the call was better, but the areas that I could use it in was a lot fewer. I remember on many occasions with that old CDMA phone, I would be somewhere either, like out in the woods away from cities, or in a basement, or in an old brick building, or in a metal parking garage, and the phone would work. I really can't think of a single place where it wouldn't work. It worked everywhere. And a lot of the times I'd be in one of those places and somebody else, or almost everybody else, would have the fancy latest and greatest 4G, 5G, iPhone, or whatever smartphone, and it wouldn't have a signal. And so for that reason, I intentionally wanted to keep that old CDMA phone because I knew it was going to work if I ever needed it. And it did. It always worked. So I get this new 4G phone, and I'm disappointed because it doesn't work in all the areas that the old phone used to work. It doesn't get a good reception in the basement. It doesn't cover every back road that I drive on. It just doesn't have enough, it doesn't have the same amount of coverage that the old phone did. And so I became kind of agitated because what I did, or what I was forced to do by Verizon, I was forced to buy a new device that I didn't really want, pay for a new service that I didn't really want, to end up with an inferior product, which was a service that doesn't give me as much coverage. That's absurd. That is completely and totally absurd. And they do this in the name of corporate greed because they are raking in the money from the transition of this old CDMA network to these 4G and 5G phones, because this is what they do. They make an outrageous amount of money on the sale of new phones, because, and I'm not like this, but a lot of people think that they need a cell phone. And so when Verizon puts out a media that says your phone's going to stop working, it kind of stirs up the customers and gives them a significant enticement to go out and buy a new phone. And so that's probably what a lot of them did. And then Verizon charges them activation fees and this fee and that fee, fees. And so they make money off the sale of the phone. They make money off a subscription to a new service. And then they're making money also off the people that didn't listen and didn't buy a new phone. Because now whoever's left on the CDMA network is pretty much pure profit for them. Because they're no longer staffing a call center to provide technical support for the CDMA network. They're no longer sending engineers and technicians out to maintain and repair the CDMA network. They're just offering it as is, in a sense. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Outrageous. They're raking in the sales and the revenue and the profit. Outrageous. And you know what? That's not even what bothers me the most about the whole thing. What bothers me the most is two items. Number one is that a lot of these smartphones, pretty much all of them, I know the iPhones definitely are. I'm sure a lot of the Samsung ones are as well. But these smartphones are made in China. And they're built in factories that have such poor, horrific working conditions that the employees, they're more like slaves. They call them employees for political correct trash. But these employees, so-called employees that work there, a lot of them would rather die a horrific suicidal death than continue working in the factories because the conditions are so horrific. That is a complete and total disregard of human life, worth, and dignity. And then the second item we have is a corporation that deceives customers, it rips people off, and lies all in the name of corporate greed. And you have these two items going on, and yes, it's to be blamed on the companies for doing this in the first place. But the blame also lies on the consumers. Because companies respond to their consumers. If a business does something and the customers say, no, I don't like that, and they don't buy the product, the company will stop doing it. And they will adjust their practices, or they will adjust the product to meet the demand of the consumers. And if consumers would say, we need a phone that's made ethically, and we're not going to buy these ones that are made in China, they wouldn't make them in China. They'd make them in America, and they'd make them in a way that satisfies the consumer desires. Here's the problem. And this is what really bothers me about these smartphones. This is Verizon and other companies as well. When these new phones come out, let's say a iPhone 15 or whatever they're up to now comes out, they fly off the shelves in the millions. And there's no concern for what's going on behind the scenes. There's no concern for where they're made and how they're made. There's no concern that they're buying a service that rips them off and lies to them. And why does that happen? Because people can't handle the truth. There's so many people today that fully and legitimately believe in their minds that they can't get through a day without a smartphone. They legitimately believe, for whatever reason they may have, that the handheld device makes their life better. They believe those lies. And so when one comes out, they must have it, and they will obtain it at whatever cost, whatever monetary cost, whatever ethical cost, and whatever moral cost, they will obtain it. If you, in good conscience, can buy one of those phones, then do it. I am not able to.